Morena sports fans, welcome to the locker room, and our special guest today is Cheyelle Robins-Reti, and she is preparing herself at the moment to go away and visit. All my phone's ringing. It would happen to head overseas and play in England and France, and that'll be a whale of an experience. And but congratulations, Al, for the selection in the first place. But were you surprised, or you were expecting to get selected, or how did the news come through to you?
Thanks, thank you, and thanks for having me. Yeah, it was definitely a surprise when I got the call. Obviously, quite nervous, waiting for it, but because I'd only played 3 games for Waikato this year, so 3 games of 15s all up, and I came out with injury on our last game, so. And with a lot of competition throughout the country, I was, definitely very nervous. So when he gave me the call, all I said was, wow, which was probably not a great response. But, definitely was just grateful and said thank you at the end.
Yes. It is always exciting that time of the year when they're selecting those teams. There are a lot of players involved in the Tokyo Olympics that would have been up for in contention to be selected as well. So there are a lot of good players that haven't been selected in that side. So those that have been selected must certainly have the ability to play the 15s game.
Yeah, for sure. I think there might be 3 or 4 of the 7s girls. So I might Dice, Stacey, Kelly, and Portia. So they would have come off obviously on a high from Tokyo after winning the gold, but just keen to get back into some rugby, I guess, and put their hand up to be selected. And I think that there were a few other girls that obviously missed out, but I definitely think that they've just, I guess, had a bit of a break, so they want to have a rest for the remainder of the year, connect with their family, and then get back on the training buzz, I guess, after Christmas.
I was just wondering whether they'd left them out to sort of spell them out that they've been away so long, because although your trip over there is to play in France and England, what is, you look like the amount of time that you're going to spend away? Is there going to be a delay getting home with the COVID restrictions and the isolation that you'll have to be part of? What's the sort of time lag between going away and getting home?
Well, we leave on the 14th of October, so just under a month, and we are supposed to be away for 7 weeks, and that's including 2 weeks coming back for quarantine. So I think the original plan was to go to Australia, but with the bubble closing, I'm not too sure if that's going ahead. But hopefully there's no more delays, because already 2 weeks in quarantine's enough. But I guess we'll just be prepared for any little bumps I guess COVID's going to chuck at us while we're overseas.
Have they already made arrangements for you to go into quarantine? There's going to be no this new ballot system that's starting up. You're not going to have to wait in line to get home. Is that all organised for you?
At the start of the year, they booked some beds in advance because they knew that they wanted to have an end-of-year tour. So, I definitely think we have locked in some beds for me to get back.
Okay. Here in Taranaki, we're very proud of the sporting achievements of your whānau. The Robins name has certainly been bandied about, but personally, I don't know your father's side of the whakapapa. You enlighten us a little bit on who fits where?
Okay, so my nan is Rita Reti, and then my dad is Robin-Reti, and then my uncle, Ants Reti, and Tanya Reti. But most of them, all my Reti side live up north, and then in Auckland is where my nan's based at the moment. But my dad's in Australia, and then the rest of us are back here.
You spent a fair bit of time in Australia during your junior years. Was that in Western Australia?
Yeah. So I went to high school in Perth to a Catholic specialized rugby and netball school over there. And I lived with my mum over there for just over 6 years.
Oh. And then you returned back here to continue your schooling, and you're at university now. We're doing university studies, and how are they going, and what are you studying?
Yeah, it's good. I'm studying a Bachelor of Sport and Exercise at the moment with Massey online. Doing that part-time, and it fits in with our trainings. So we're pretty privileged to be able to do that. But yeah, it's going really good, especially having, I guess, extra time in lockdown to nail down on the study, especially during training. But yeah, hopefully after post rugby, my ambitions are to become a strength and conditioning coach, and hopefully at the high performance level.
Okay. So what sort of how to get your degree and so forth? How long is that going to take you?
Well, because it's part time, it could take up to 6 years. Because it only just started last year. But hopefully, if I can get a couple extra papers in during summer, I could cut it down to at least 4. But yeah, it might be a lengthy process doing it part time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's one of those things that we sort of consider with a lot of our juniors that are anticipating having a career in footy and so forth, and telling them that your sporting life is a very short one, and especially in a physical contact sport. With women these days, what do you see the lifespan of a female rugby player? What sort of a average in years would you give yourself maybe to play? To what age?
I guess now it's a little bit different from when I was a little bit younger, because I guess back when I was 16, we didn't have at school full women like girls rugby teams. You had to play either with the boys non-contact. But now these days there's full squads of 15 within a school. So it starts a bit earlier, I guess, at the age of 15, 16. And then that, I guess, the retirement age for women is pushing between 30 and 35, depending on injuries. But I guess now with which is exciting that we can see girls playing at a younger age, which helps with our growth within New Zealand. But I know that with that starting earlier, there's obviously earlier onset injuries, and so that could reduce your span within rugby. But there's a lot of support around the schools and within academies to help to grow girls within the rugby space, especially, I guess, outside of it with gyms and nutrition. So yeah, it definitely could be extended with that help at the bottom.
I suppose it's something. I mean, young women or getting into their 20s, having families and so forth. It's not like netball where you can play right up. You can play into their first stages of pregnancy, and then you've got to, with rugby, you're going to get bashed up all the time, so you've got to take this amount of time off. So it's more like 18 months maybe between the time the baby's ready to be left semi part time or whatever it is on its own, while you get your body back in condition to play footy. So it's quite a juggle for those women who do have children during their careers. How many of those women that are playing now have had children mid career and then made a comeback? Is it quite prevalent, or?
Well, within the 7 space, there's only been one that has had a baby and then come back and actually gone and played, and that was Kayla McAllister. And so she had 10 months off to have baby, and within 3 months post having baby, she was back training again. So she was kind of like the first, I guess, 7s to go away and then come back. But within the 15 space, there's been a couple. Les Elder's the captain for the 15s, and she went away, had a baby, and then 3 months later back into it. But it's definitely not easy, and I think with the support of their family and friends around them helps for them to, I guess, juggle rugby and life.
Yeah.
It's
Well, the
definitely a big
conditioning itself, I mean, like the changes that the woman goes through, and then she got to get back into football mode. It's quite a big step. It's not so bad for the blokes. They just have the good part and then they're back into it. For a while. Got to carry that baby around for a while. But I was thinking, how it's affecting those that wanted to start a family, and it would be quite difficult to plan your career around that as well. But obviously it can be done, and if you're determined to do it, and put in the hard work, because it's not easy getting knocked over for 80 minutes a week and getting up with the bruises and getting battered. So good on to those ones who can do it. You've been involved in sevens now and 15s and various other stages. Is there any pressure on the girls to specialise in one area of the game, or are the coaches and hierarchy quite happy for you to dabble in both games?
I think it definitely depends on I guess the year that's panned out. Like obviously this year there was Olympics on, and so there was a big focus and shift towards the sevens, and then heading into next year there's obviously the 15s World Cup here next year. So I think they kind of try to work together, because obviously they want the best players on the field, and try, I guess, balance between sharing the load of having them within the sevens environment or within the 15s. But I guess there's no massive pressure, I guess, to choose one or the other. It's more dependent on what's on that year, and they just try to work together to get the best for everyone.
So if you put up good performances now, then you're looking at World Cup next year, and then would you? I mean, you obviously would have watched the sevens in Tokyo and would have gone, gee, that would be good to be there, getting a medal and all those sort of things. And after the World Cup 15s, is there any sign that you might sort of try and concentrate on sevens, try and make that team in 3 years' time?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely after World Cup next year, I definitely want to push for the next Olympics in Paris. But there's other opportunities also for sevens next year. There's Commonwealth Games and then a sevens World Cup, which would be awesome to go to as well. So definitely a lot to work for.
I suppose with COVID now too, everything's up in the air, and what sort of precautions or what sort of planning have you done as far as a team when you go over to England and France to keep yourselves clear of COVID and just protecting yourselves? Have you had any instructions on how it's going to, the bubbles you're going to have to be in and so forth?
There hasn't been a massive discussion, I guess, around how we're going to approach it, especially within airports and when we go to hotels and whatnot. But obviously the first one was to make sure that everyone was vaccinated before we go. So that was probably a big, I think, if you're not vaccinated, then you weren't allowed to go. And then I just guess the protocols of just making sure our cleanliness when we're on the plane with hand sanitizer, our masks. And once we get into England, I guess we'll be staying quite close to in our own little bubble, and then obviously with the other teams. But just trying to minimize as much, I guess, contact with COVID, since we've been in such a small little bubble back here in New Zealand. And everyone's overseas, I guess, has kind of gotten back to normal life. So that'll be interesting, but I definitely know that the medical team will have a good process in place.
Yes, just looking at the news last night and the numbers that are, the spread of the COVID or the Delta variant anyway, over there is growing by the by the day. It's getting quite bad, and I wondered if it was going to affect, the tour at all. Is there a we are going, but is there a but in the speak? So
At the moment, I don't think there is. I think they've probably just got 3 plans in place if something was to happen. But yeah, there hasn't been. This is probably the most definite thing for the 15 space for women at this stage. So they're going to try their best to do everything we can so in order for us to play.
Yeah, all right. And with the professional game, the money that they're paying girls these days, is it enough to sustain you without having to work elsewhere and so forth? I see the Australian netball have just increased their payment to their girls, and they're getting up close to 100 grand a year playing netball now. And I'm just wondering if the same sort of money was being offered around for the full-time rugby players.
For the 7 space, it's full-time professional. So there's a squad of 21, and they get paid. So it is enough to live on, so that you can just focus solely on training, especially with the load during the week. It's kind of panned out like a working week, which may seem weird to some people, but you're still in there from 8:30 to at least 4 o'clock. And that could be from just on the field, just resources like nutrition and mind, and then obviously analysis of other teams. But yeah, so that's full time. But with the 15 space, they're just semi-professional at the moment. I'm not too sure how many people get contracted, but it's just because of the amount of times they play within the year, they aren't fully professional at the moment. But I think in the future they're looking towards having that for the 15 space.
Yeah, with the provincial footy, you're involved in that at the moment for Waikato, and you'll be playing a couple of games for them, and that'll be it for the season, will it?
Yeah, so obviously with COVID, we were supposed to verse Auckland and Counties 3 weeks ago for our last 2 pool rounds, but obviously with lockdown, it's been pushed out, and we're gonna verse Wellington next weekend. And then, depending on whether Auckland come out of lockdown or not, we could potentially play them on the 2nd of October for semi-finals, or if they don't come out of lockdown, we'll be versing Wellington again to determine if we go to the finals against Canterbury.
All right. But in that time, you'll be on your way, jetting away to England.
Yeah, we don't do 14th, so we'll still have a little bit of time with the team up until then. But so the semi-finals might be the last game before we head off.
Yeah, because they're looking at if the levels don't come down, then they're pushing it out, and it's
and then it's obviously the time before we go.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've got a sort of a couple of things with like your future and that over there. There's a professional game in New Zealand being up and running. Is there, with your connection with Australia, has there been any thought of going back over there and playing there, or you're quite happy to play here in New Zealand and see your footy out? Family ties are very strong, and you see girls going from one area to another, and netball and so forth. Some coming back here, some going over there.
Yeah, I definitely. I probably don't see myself going back to Australia again, unless it's to visit my mum. But I just love New Zealand too much to I guess go away. I guess post career, maybe when I'm getting a bit older, reaching out to overseas options. But yeah, definitely stay in New Zealand as long as I can.
Yeah. You're an outside back. Obviously, you got a bit of speed. Did you do athletics or anything like that when you were younger?
I've done a little bit at Eltham Athletics just for a little while. I think I was up until I was 8. But I definitely wasn't. I definitely wasn't fast back then. I was too keen on the long jump and shot put back then.
All right. So, well, you must have been timed up there. What do you run 40 meters of?
Oh gosh, I wouldn't even know the time. Yeah, maybe like. No, I wouldn't say because I'll probably get it wrong and they'll think I'm faster than I am.
How do you go against Michaela?
Oh yeah, she'll definitely beat me in a race. She'll get me on the first 10 meters and I'll be chasing her.
Yeah. What is your skill then? Are you more of a stepper in player, or you've got a good fend on you, or where did your strength in the game come?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like my speed and I guess a little bit of agility, but coming from sevens and being a halfback, which is kind of playmaker, I guess inserting myself to set up for other people as a 15, I guess. But as a winger, I'm very fresh. It was the first time I played it last year.
Yeah.
So just finding my bearings in that position, but. Yeah, I never thought I'd be fast enough for the wing.
Oh, okay. So in Aussie, when you're growing up, did you play touch at all? Because it's a huge game over there. Were you involved in the touch game?
Yeah. I used to play touch for WA for Perth, and there used to be nationals every year.
Oh, cool.
But it wasn't until my last year of high school where they started a sevens team, and that's I guess where I went back to playing rugby again after playing netball and touch for so long. So that was exciting.
Okay. Oh well, there you go. Oh well, it's always good to hear the local girls. Well, we call you a local anyway. We'll claim you, even if you were in Australia for quite a while.
Yeah,
you still fucking pop back to Taranaki, so you're one of ours. So, but there are some other Taranaki girls in the squad there, and we're very proud of what they've all done. So we try to keep up with our local personalities that are doing well on the world scene, and so we just want to congratulate you on your selection and wish you well over there and in your future, and train hard, and we'll be all cheering for you when you're dotting down under the goalpost over there in England.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to say before we wind up?
No, just thank you for having me on here, and appreciate your time.
We appreciate you making yourself available. It's people take time out to come on, and it's always good to have a chat. And to those people that do tune in and say hello to you or find out a little bit more about you, well, I'm sure they'll say yes. Well, we feel a bit closer to you now. Yeah. So we thank you for that, Chanel, and you just keep up the good work, and you know that you've got all of the Taranaki here behind you.
Thank you very much.
Kia ora then.
Kia ora.